Let's be real. Most of us grew up hearing that masturbation was something shameful, dirty, or at least something you just don't talk about. But what if I told you that this so-called taboo might actually be one of the simplest tools you have to manage stress, sleep better, and even boost your confidence in the bedroom? Now I know what you're thinking. Come on, man, it's just about feeling good for a few minutes, right? Not quite. The truth is, your body is wired to respond in some fascinating ways every time you climax. And when you understand what's really happening inside your brain and nervous system, you'll realize that masturbation isn't just a guilty pleasure. It can be a natural mental health booster. Here's the deal. This video isn't about telling you to do it more or less. It's not about judgment. It's about cutting through the myths, breaking down the science, and showing you how something private and often misunderstood can actually help your mind stay balanced. Stick with me all the way to the end, because I'll give you 3 simple, practical tips you can start using tonight to harness these benefits without slipping into habits that could backfire. So, let's dive in. First up, we've got to talk about what's really happening in your brain and hormones when you masturbate. And trust me, once you see this, you'll never look at it the same way again. All right, so what's actually going on inside your body when you masturbate? Let's break it down in plain English. When you reach orgasm, your brain goes through a pretty amazing chemical shift. Think of it like flipping a series of switches that release feel-good chemicals and calm your nerves' hormones. First, dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, spikes during arousal. That's what drives the excitement and anticipation. Then, after climax, your body releases oxytocin and prolactin. Oxytocin is sometimes called the cuddle hormone. It's the same chemical that makes you feel close and connected during sex with a partner. Prolactin, on the other hand, is linked to the deep feeling of satisfaction and calm that often follows orgasm. Together, they create that wave of relief and relaxation you feel afterward. There's also a drop in cortisol, the stress hormone. That's why masturbation can leave you feeling lighter, less anxious, and sometimes ready to crash into a good night's sleep. In short, it's not just in your head. Your nervous system is literally rewiring itself for calm after you finish. Now, here's the interesting part. While sex with a partner triggers some of these chemicals differently, solo sex is still powerful enough to bring on a lot of the same benefits. Your brain doesn't treat it as something meaningless. It recognizes it as a release and a reset. But what do those shifts actually do for your day-to-day life? That's what we'll get into next. How masturbation can help you manage stress, relax, and actually sleep better. Let's talk about 2 things almost every guy struggles with: stress and sleep. Long hours at work, family responsibilities, bills piling up. It's no wonder so many of us feel burned out. Now here's where masturbation can quietly step in as a surprisingly effective tool. When you climax, that cocktail of hormones we talked about in the last part, oxytocin, prolactin, and the drop in cortisol, creates a kind of reset button for your nervous system. It's like your body saying, hey, you've been wound up all day, let's shut down the stress response for a while. That's why a lot of men notice they feel looser, calmer, or even more focused afterward. And let's be honest, sleep is gold. Without good rest, everything suffers: your mood, your focus, even your testosterone levels. The relaxation that follows orgasm often makes it easier to drift off, and for many guys, it's the quickest way to stop the racing thoughts that keep them awake at night. You're not just imagining it. Your brain is literally being flooded with chemicals that promote rest. Of course, there's a balance. If you find yourself relying on masturbation every single night just to sleep, that might be a sign you're leaning too heavily on it instead of fixing other habits, like cutting caffeine, reducing screen time, or creating a real bedtime routine. But as part of your toolkit for handling stress and sleep, it can be incredibly effective. Up next, let's dive into another overlooked benefit: how masturbation can actually help regulate your emotions and give you more control over your mood. Here's something we don't talk about enough: how masturbation can actually help you regulate your emotions. Think about those moments when you're anxious, angry, or just weighed down by stress. Sometimes you need a way to hit pause to quiet the storm in your head. For some men, masturbation works almost like a pressure release valve. When you climax, your brain floods with neurochemicals that calm your system. That sudden drop in tension can shift you out of a negative spiral and help you reset emotionally. It's a bit like going for a jog, lifting weights, or taking a cold shower. It doesn't fix the problem itself, but it helps you get back to a state where you can actually deal with it. But here's the key. Masturbation should be a tool, not a crutch. If you use it once in a while to take the edge off, that's healthy and normal. But if you find yourself running to it every single time you feel sad, lonely, or stressed, that could be a red flag. Because then you're not just soothing yourself, you're avoiding the deeper issue. It's about awareness. Ask yourself, am I doing this to feel balanced, or am I doing it to escape? Used in the right way, masturbation can help you regain control of your emotions, keep stress in check, and even boost your resilience. Next, let's look at another benefit most guys overlook: how solo sex actually helps you understand your body, and why that matters for your confidence with a partner. Now let's talk about a benefit that goes way beyond stress relief: self-discovery. Masturbation is one of the most direct ways to learn about your own body, and let's be real. If you don't understand what turns you on, what feels good, or what helps you relax, how can you expect to communicate that to a partner? Exploring your body on your own terms builds awareness. You start to notice patterns. What kind of touch relaxes you? How much stimulation is too much? Or how your mood affects arousal? That information is like a personal roadmap. When you bring that knowledge into a relationship, it makes you more confident, more communicative, and ultimately more connected. Confidence in the bedroom doesn't just appear out of thin air. It comes from experience and self-awareness. When you know how your body responds, you're less nervous about performance and more focused on actually enjoying the moment. And that confidence, your partner can feel it. But here's the important part. Self-discovery should empower you, not isolate you. It's about using what you learn to deepen intimacy, not replace it. Healthy masturbation can enhance your sex life with a partner by making you more comfortable with yourself, and that's a huge win for both of you. Coming up next, though, we need to switch gears. Because while there are plenty of benefits, there's also a darker side: guilt, shame, and even compulsive habits that can cancel out all these positives. Let's break that down. Up to this point, we've focused on the benefits, but it's important to be real. Masturbation doesn't always bring relief. For some men, it comes with heavy feelings of guilt or shame, often rooted in upbringing, culture, or religious messages. And here's the thing: if you feel guilty every time you do it, the stress relief you're supposed to get can actually flip into more stress. Instead of calm, you're left with anxiety and self-criticism. That guilt can take a toll on mental health. Men who feel conflicted about masturbation sometimes report higher levels of anxiety, depression, and even lower self-esteem. It's not because masturbation itself is harmful. It's because the emotional baggage attached to it weighs them down. There's also another side to watch out for: compulsion. For some guys, masturbation becomes less of a choice and more of a habit they can't control. If you find yourself doing it compulsively, skipping work, avoiding relationships, or feeling like you have to get through the day, that's a warning sign. At that point, it's not about pleasure or balance anymore, it's about escape. Here's the bottom line: masturbation should leave you feeling better, not worse. If guilt, shame, or compulsion are part of your experience, it may be time to step back, reflect, or even talk with a professional. Next, let's talk about the real-world signs that tell you masturbation might be crossing into unhealthy territory, and what to look out for before it starts harming your life. Here's the truth: masturbation in itself isn't harmful. Most men do it, and for many it's completely normal and healthy. But like anything else, there's a tipping point. The problem isn't how often you do it. It's whether it starts to mess with the rest of your life. For some men, that tipping point shows up when masturbation becomes a replacement for real-world connection. Maybe you're spending more time watching porn than spending time with your partner. Maybe you're skipping workouts, ignoring responsibilities, or losing interest in actual intimacy because solo sex feels easier. Those are red flags. Another sign? Compulsion. If you feel like you have to masturbate multiple times a day, even when you don't want to, that's a sign the habit is controlling you instead of the other way around. It can also start affecting your sexual health, making it harder to get aroused with a partner, or lowering your motivation to connect emotionally. And let's not ignore porn. Porn itself isn't inherently evil, but heavy, constant use can rewire expectations. If you find that real sex feels dull compared to what you see on screen, or you can't climax without it, that's a warning light flashing. The bottom line is this: masturbation should add balance to your life, not take it over. If it starts pulling you away from your goals, relationships, or your own well-being, that's when it's a problem. Now let's wrap this up with something practical. The real-world steps you can take tonight to enjoy the mental health benefits without falling into the traps. So where does that leave us? We've covered a lot: the brain chemistry, the stress relief, the boost in confidence, and the potential downsides if guilt, shame, or overuse creep in. The truth is, masturbation is a normal, natural part of male sexuality. It can absolutely support your mental health, but only when you use it in balance. To finish up, let me give you 3 simple, practical tips you can start using tonight to make sure you get the benefits without the baggage. Tip number 1, set an intention. Don't just do it out of boredom or avoidance. If you're stressed, if you need to relax, or if you want to understand your body better, be clear about why you're doing it. That mindset shift keeps it from turning into a mindless habit. Tip number 2, choose your timing. If you're using it to improve sleep, make it part of your nighttime routine. Put the phone away afterward, dim the lights, and let your body ride that natural relaxation into actual rest. Tip number 3, watch the balance. If you notice it's cutting into your relationships, your productivity, or your motivation, take a step back. Sometimes just reducing frequency a bit, or being more mindful about when and why, is enough to reset things. And here's the most important point: if guilt or compulsion are making it feel more harmful than helpful, don't be afraid to reach out for support. There's no shame in talking to a therapist or doctor about it. At the end of the day, masturbation should leave you feeling better, calmer, clearer, and more confident. Use it wisely, and it can be one of the simplest tools for keeping both your mind and body healthy.